Hey there. Welcome to Lead Fearlessly, Strategies of Confident Women Leaders, the podcast that will empower you to unleash your inner strength and embrace leadership with confidence. I'm your host, Katie Winchenbach, and I'm excited to have you join us as we dive into the experiences of extraordinary women who've shattered glass ceilings and redefined success on their own terms. Get ready to be motivated, challenged, and equipped with the tools and strategies to lead fearlessly in your own life and career. I am so excited to be joined by Erica Duran. Erica is the HR director at Ironpaper. She has over 15 years of experience in HR and in talent management, and she's here today to share her story and also to share some tips for rising women leaders. So, Erica, thank you so much for joining us today.
Katie, thank you so much. I am so excited about this opportunity, and I will admit I did hesitate to join. I just saw the impressive women you've interviewed. It made me wonder if I belonged, but that hesitation is exactly why I said yes. Because as women, we need to take the opportunities in front of us. We need to put ourselves out there, even if it feels really uncomfortable. So today, I want to share my story in the hope that some of the audience members will relate or at least get some takeaway that might help their career. So thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And thank you so much for your candor going into this conversation. I know personally that feeling of, do I belong? And that sort of imposter syndrome rears its head every once in a while. So I know that's already going to be super relatable to our listeners.
Yes, I feel like it comes up too often for me, despite my career trajectory. It's just, I don't know, especially as a female in the workplace, it can be challenging, but yeah, I would love to start to the story with like a really important moment in my life that shaped my whole career path. So, and I'm really being vulnerable here for the audience. But when I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. We fought it for a year, and the cancer won. So
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thanks, Katie. But losing my mom to breast cancer, and then being on my own, I was 17 at the time. It changed everything for me. At that point, normally at 17, you're starting to prepare for college, think about your major, think about, what job you might be working towards. But for me at that point, I was just trying to get through the day, and I wasn't really thinking about my future career. And unfortunately, nobody spoke to me about therapy. I mean, this is, a bit back. So, I didn't have the access to internet easily like I do now, and things were a bit different back then. And also becoming an orphan, I didn't really have a lot of support. So one thing I want to share with the audience that I think is really important is if you're going through something, whether at work, if it's a big struggle, or in your personal life, like I encourage you to seek help. It could be therapy. It could be using your company's employee assistance program if they have one. It could just be like a good friend or family member that you can confide in and get good advice, and they won't judge you. But doing that is going to have a positive impact on you in the long run, and that's going to affect you both personally and professionally. So I just wanted to pause there and share that because, what I'm sharing today is led me to kind of reflect on my past, and, I'm just hoping the things that I wish I'd done differently or had been exposed to will help the audience.
I appreciate you sharing that. I'm so sorry that was such a difficult experience to go through. I actually lost my mother to cancer a few years ago as well. So I know that is a tough experience, and I appreciate how that factors in into your story, and really it sounds like helped build a lot of resilience for you.
It did, the hard way, yes. So it definitely affected me going forward. So kind of going back to this story, I had to start thinking about college and stuff. So thankfully, I had an uncle that was helping me out at that time. He helped me apply, got into Rutgers. I was still a bit lost. Okay, I got into college. Now what? I didn't know what to major in, wasn't thinking about, my career path. And I ultimately chose to major in communications because I figured, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think having a degree in communications can apply to many different types of jobs. So that's what I did. From there, while in college, I started to work in hotels. And the reason I did that is because that uncle and my other uncle were, because they're retired now, they were both executives in hotels. So I was like, all right, let me try this out. They both do it. They love it. So maybe it's a good path for me. So I followed in their footsteps. I worked at a front desk and kept progressing through roles. I went to a supervisor role, to a manager. And my last role in the hospitality industry was a front office manager where I was leading a team of 20 plus employees at a Marriott that had over 400 rooms. So that was a while back. And back then, managers were all expected to be scheduled for 50 plus hours. So I was doing that. It often was more than 50 hours. And it was really challenging. I wish, looking back, I realized that I was very good at customer service. The Marriott, for instance, had a really strong program and trainings that helped me build those skills. But one reflection point I want to share is, and this happens all the time in companies, in my current role, I see it like constantly where people get promoted to a manager role. They don't get any training in how to be a manager. And looking back, like what I know now, I wish I knew then because I realized I was not the best manager. I could have done so much better if I had maybe had a training program or had a coach, but unfortunately I just didn't have those things. So I'm going to pause for another piece of advice to the audience. Every company is structured a bit differently. Some can have really strong programs for growth and development. Others might not have any. So my advice is if you're going into a new role or having to do new work that requires new skills, ask what are there any training opportunities? Do you have any, could somebody coach me? Are there any resources here? And sometimes the answer is no. But, also see what options you have available. It could be books. It could be, we're in the age of technology. I mean, ask AI for some help to get you started at least. Maybe see if the company reimburses external trainings. But I'll just say that the more you learn as you're going through your career, the better you're setting yourself up for success. So if you aren't just handed trainings or a learning plan, ask about it, find out what's available, and then supplement with your own research if you need to. This will make you more confident as you learn more. And, as you move towards leadership, that confidence is really key. So just wanted to stop for a moment and share that with the audience.
No, I think it's so great that you shared that because I think it really speaks to the idea of being willing to learn and grow. And I think a lot of times when you're promoted into a new position, your initial thought is, I need to show that I'm ready for this and that I can do this and that I know what I'm doing. And I think we overlook the benefits of asking for help, asking for training, and giving yourself some grace of knowing that this is a new position where you're developing new skills and you're not expected to go in and know everything and be perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Love those points, Katie. So I was working in hotels, and while I was there, I learned about human resources. I didn't know a lot about it. Again, I didn't have such a support system growing up and had little exposure to types of work. And I was learning more and more, and I was fascinated. I loved how human resources is just all about helping employees. It's an office environment versus being in front of a line of customers. So it's a different work environment. It's about problem solving, but not problem solving where you have to relocate a guest to a different room because they had a HVAC issue, but really helping the person, help them in their career or something they're struggling with. And I became really interested in HR. So I talked to leadership at that hotel and asked if there's a way, can I transition to HR? Even if it's an entry-level role, I just really wanted to give it a try. I'd only worked in the front office in hotels. I wanted to see what it would be like. It really seemed like a opportunity that would make me really satisfied in my work. And so I asked about it. Unfortunately, it wasn't something we could work out, but, I tried. It doesn't hurt to ask. And knowing that it was not an option was great. That way I was able to pivot. So I started to search for other roles. And I will say, back then, and I know it's the same case today, it is hard to pivot. I did not work in HR. I did not have a degree in human resources. And I did not wind up getting a job in HR at that time, despite applying to many places, even in the entry-level capabilities. So I wound up taking on some other supervisory type roles in other industries just to get more exposure to different types of work, different environments, and continue to grow and learn. And, ultimately, I wound up working at a nonprofit organization. And, although it was a different role, it was and it was a smaller organization where you have to wear a bunch of hats and you're kind of touching many different things. The team started growing and then they needed more HR supports. So my manager talked to me about it and we started shifting my responsibilities to HR. So, having that conversation with her, I was like, yes, I'm so excited about this. This is my moment to finally shift into the area that I've been striving for. So, I just want to stop here and just share that, the importance of talking to your manager about your professional interests and career goals. So looking back, I'm wondering, if I didn't share with her that I had interest in human resources and I had asked previously to help here and there with anything HR related, I wonder if I would have had that opportunity. Maybe she would have talked to someone else if she didn't know that I had those interests. So, you have to advocate for yourself. Sometimes no one else will. You just never know what opportunities could arise. So I just want to share that with the audience that, if you have passion areas or growth interests, just please share that with your manager and see if it's something that could be worked out in the future.
That's such a great tip. And I love that your story highlights really how you did that effectively, because I think a lot of times when we talk about self-advocacy, it sounds scary. But your example is really showing how it doesn't have to be anything dramatic or significant, but you built this relationship with the people you were working with where you were able to express an interest in something. And doing that, really started a whole chain reaction of things for you getting into HR.
Yes, it really did. It did start that chain reaction. I love how you phrased that. So yes, I grew in that role. I kept taking on more HR responsibilities. I was learning hands-on, but I also joined an organization called SHRM. So you pay for a membership. It's like the top HR organization. They have tons of resources, trainings. So I was learning hands-on plus absorbing all the things they offer. And I also leveraged some other resources. So I loved that opportunity. I grew so much. And, at some point, there was a moment where I just wasn't learning anymore. And that's when I started to, and there wasn't any other opportunities to do so. Smaller organizations can get to that point. So I started exploring options. I did find through a friend an opportunity at a commercial water treatment company to lead HR. And it included a seat at the leadership table. So it included being on the leadership teams. That was my first chance to do that. And that was so exciting. That's a great opportunity for me. Funny enough, the whole leadership team, they were all men except for me. But it gave me a voice at the table and, let me put my ideas out there in front of a group of male C-suite members. So that was a fantastic opportunity for me. I learned a new industry. So, really appreciated my friend who reached out and just let me know about this role.
And Erica, what was your opportunity like being the only woman in the room? Because that can be really intimidating.
It was at first. I will admit that. Well, first, I hadn't been a leadership team member, so that was one thing. And then, yes, everybody else being male in the room. I was hesitant at first to speak up. I would let them dominate a little bit. I was a bit insecure at first. But once I started to build the relationships with those folks, it was a different story. So I think, getting to know each leadership team member is important, understanding their personalities, learning how each of them react to different ways of communicating helped me be able to be more confident in pitching ideas, having a good dialogue with them, and us collaborating together as one unit. So, but yes, I will admit it was a little scary at first, but again, you have to go for it. You don't learn until you try, right, Katie?
I think that's 100% it. And I love that you brought that up because it's scary, but going for it's important to make advancements in your career.
It is. And part of it is on you. You can't just wait for things to happen.
Yes. I love that you said that too, because it really is up to each of us to take some ownership for your career. And I can tell based on your story that that's something that you really did.
Thanks, Katie. I appreciate that. So while I was at this company, I had more exposure to different aspects of human resources than I had in the prior role. I just knew things that would come up in that industry. And I realized I actually had a passion for a specific area of human resources, which is talent acquisition. I had more exposure to hiring there and being part of that, the interview process. So I realized that was the area that I love the most. And I wanted to pursue that more closely and really become an expert there. So I started to look again, and I came across Ironpaper, which is a leading B2B growth agency. And the role that was advertised was a hiring director. The focus area was talent acquisition, period, which was perfect. So I went through the interview process. They gave me a little peek behind the curtain on their unique approach to hiring. And I was sold. I have not seen a process like that before. Doing it myself now, candidates often comment that they enjoyed the experience. It was unique. So I thankfully, obviously got the job, and, it wasn't easy at first. I had to build foundational knowledge of inbound marketing. I didn't know anything about marketing. I mean, I knew the very basics that you just like, okay, marketing helps sales. Like, I really knew nothing. So, I would say this has been my proudest career moment is my time at Ironpaper, because I have learned so much here. Like, first, our CEO, Jonathan Franchel, he's so inspiring. He is a lifelong learner, and I really admire that. He knows so much about so many things, and he's super curious and asks good questions. And I kind of copy him in a way, because when I would interview, I, used to ask some of the standard questions, and he just inspired me to try new approaches, ask things a different way, be like super curious with the candidates when I'm doing the interview process, and just in general as well, to just keep learning and growing. So that's amazing to have such a role model. And then the team we've built together, because I'm hiring and contributing to the team selection, is just a culture of curiosity, and learning is really valued. So a tip here for the audience is, when you're thinking about your next company, maybe think about like even who you're going to get to work with. I've found that working with smart, innovative people have helped me improve my knowledge and makes me more innovative. And being innovative is going to help your career, because you're going to be excited to test new approaches, just run with ideas, even if they might not work. But doing that is where you're going to learn. You learn even by failure, and you also kind of open yourself up more. So I just love how Ironpaper is just all about experiments, looking at data, seeing what's working, and not being afraid to have a failed test as long as you have a takeaway from it. So that's been really great for me. I'm so happy I'm where I am now. And I feel like I've learned so much in the time that I've been here. When I think back to some of my other roles, the pace of learning was so much slower because, one, I wasn't asking for stretch assignments or opportunities to put myself out there. And then two, some organizations just aren't set up to provide a learning program. So just something to think about as you're considering options. If you're looking for a new job, how will this environment and the resources support your learning and growth?
I think that is a tremendously important point, because it's really true that the company culture makes a huge impact. And I love that one of the things you mentioned is not even just accepted, but encouraged at Ironpaper is innovation and the idea of failing and learning from it. Because that is, to your point, really how you're able to learn and grow exponentially.
Absolutely. And yes, I feel that I have grown exponentially just in a few years I've been with this organization. It's been really exciting. And I know that I'm going to keep learning. I don't know if it'll ever stop. It's just, there's so much, so many opportunities for me, both in my role, but just learning about the work we do. It's just so collaborative. I even helped a few clients, and Katie, that was really scary. The first time I had to interact with a client, I was like, oh my gosh, this is our business. Like, what if the client's unhappy with me or I don't do a good job, and they, I don't know, maybe fire us as an agency. These are things that went through my head, but you have to go for it. And now I've connected with a few clients, and I actually think I do pretty well, which I'm so happy to have realized that I could also do this. It just opens up your mind.
I love to see how, as you're telling this story, it's so evident that your confidence has grown and your belief in yourself and your skills has grown. For younger women who may still be struggling to see how they're bringing value to the table and are struggling maybe with that confidence in their skills, what's some advice that you would have to help them kind of combat that?
That's a tough one. And yes, that I appreciate your observation there. I purposely told the beginning of my story because that's impacted my support system, my confidence. And as I said, I'm being very vulnerable here. But I would say for me personally, I mean, everybody's an individual. You have to be around supportive people to build your confidence. You need to get feedback. I've worked in companies where I didn't even really meet with my manager unless something came up. I wasn't getting any feedback. I was just going through the motions. And it makes you doubt yourself because nobody's saying you're either doing well or you're doing poorly. Like, no feedback can impact your confidence. And I have been in roles where I got a lot of feedback. I've received critical feedback, which was hard, but it made me improve myself. And I would rather someone tell me than not tell me. And then I continue, doing things in a way that doesn't serve the company or the team to the best of my abilities. So I would say be around supportive folks, get feedback, good or bad, and learn from it. And that's how you build your confidence, is just by testing things out, seeing what's going well and what's not, and just being open to hearing that with the mindset that this is making me better. And then that just keeps building your confidence over time.
And that mindset that you mentioned is really, really important. And I think that's something for young leaders to be thinking about, is focusing on that growth mindset and on how things like feedback and failure that may initially feel kind of uncomfortable to get or to ask for is really only helping you grow in the ways that you need to progress.
Yes, absolutely. And I can see why that could be scary, especially for women who are early in their career. And I'll say that there are some companies that are very critical of mistakes or failed tests. So I think it also kind of depends on the environment that you're working in. And if you really want to grow, you might have to, at some point, look for a different environment that is going to be more supportive and, not say, give you a write-up if you make an error, as long as you are being open and honest, with the management team and talking through what happened and, saying that you want to improve for next time. Normally that should be, a positive experience, but unfortunately not all businesses are run like that. So again, going back to the point of being selective of the companies you decide to work at is really important as you shape the future of your career.
That's very true. And looking back over your whole career, and some of those lessons that you've learned along the way, what is one piece of advice that you wish you knew when you were getting started in HR?
I would say, thinking back to when I got started, find an HR or career-related support system. So I'm saying HR for myself, but find a support system for your role that is going to help you grow, whether it's your manager, whether it's a network you join on LinkedIn or some other platform where different folks of the same career can help each other, or maybe just some kind of role model. Like if you want to be a great leader and another leader is inspirational to you, maybe they can do some mentoring. But just find some great, solid resource to help you through your path. I wish I had done that sooner. I've found some resources along the way, but the sooner you can surround yourself with great leaders, especially if it's a female leader that can help you navigate those challenges, then you'll be setting yourself up for success sooner.
That's amazing. And I don't feel like you can really overemphasize the importance of having that network and having that support system. So I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, and it'll stay with you if you have a solid one, Katie. Like it can help you if you're looking for a new job, potentially. When I talk to candidates, those who have a good network often work with folks in multiple companies. It just sustains you in the long run.
It really does. Erica, thank you so much for joining us, for being so vulnerable and so open and sharing not only your story, but really all of these incredible tips.
Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I hope the audience finds some takeaways in what I shared. If not, I appreciate you all listening.
Head down to the show notes to find Erica's LinkedIn profile and connect with her. Thanks for tuning in to Lead Fearlessly, Strategies of Confident Women Leaders. If you've been inspired by today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a friend who could use a confidence boost. Remember to subscribe so you won't miss out when we drop our next season. And if you found our conversations valuable, please leave us a 5-star review. Your support helps us continue to amplify the voices of incredible women leaders and inspire more fearless female trailblazers. We'll see you next time.